The International Monetary Fund has lowered its 2025 growth forecast for South Korea's economy to 2%, a 0.2% percentage point drop from its October projection, while raising its global growth outlook.
국제통화기금 IMF가 올해 세계 경제 성장률을 상향 조정한 데 반해 우리나라 경제 성장률 전망치는 지난해 10월보다 0.2%포인트 낮은 2%로 발표했습니다.
Yes, so we start this Monday morning with some economic news coming out of the International Monetary Fund, the IMF. And they have lowered their growth forecast for South Korea this year from originally 2.2% back in October to an adjusted 2% for this year. So basically, in layperson's terms, the IMF believes that the economy won't do as well as they had initially projected back in October. My wild guess is because of the events that have been happening in South Korea politically.
Especially over the past months or so. 지난 10월에 IMF가 2025년 경제 성장률 전망치를 마지막으로 내놨었고요. 그때보다 이번에 새로 전망치를 내놓은 게 좀 낮아졌다 이런 얘기죠. 한국은 그래요. 전 세계적으로는 세계 경제 성장률은 좀 상향 조정을 했어요.
Yeah, they've actually increased the global growth outlook from 3.2% to 3.3%. And also, if you want to look at the IMF's projections compared to other bodies, the Korean government is projecting a 1.8% increase. The Bank of Korea, 1.9%. The OECD has a little more optimistic outlook at 2.1%. So if you want to average those out, roughly, we're in about the 2% range for growth for this year.
그러네요. 우리 정부 같은 경우에는 올해 우리나라가 1.8% 성장할 것이다. 이렇게 내다보고 있고요. 한국은행은 1.9%로 전망하고 있고 OECD죠. 경제협력개발기구는 2.1%로 전망하고 있습니다. 그러니까 비슷해요. IMF는 2%로 보고 있으니까요.
And because these are projections, of course, they're not. They're based on quantitative metrics, but they go and adjust these as events unfold. And this is important for investors because investors they use these projections to kind of change their behaviors and how they invest in economies.
Well, a new administration comes into force today in the U.S.
Yes.
So what about the U.S. economy?
Well, the U.S. economy, I believe, I don't know what the exact projections are, but there's a lot of optimism if you want to look at sort of the stock market, how it's been doing. If you're into cryptocurrency prices are at their all-time high. So there's a lot of optimism for this new Trump administration.
그러게 말입니다. IMF에서 미국 경제 같은 경우에는 지난 10월에 전망했을 때보다 이번에는 한 0.5%포인트 전망치를 올려가지고요. 2.7% 성장할 것 같다. 이렇게 내다보고 있네요. 자, 표현 보겠습니다. 첫 번째, to lower.
Yeah, we said the IMF lowered their forecast, meaning that if you move something in sort of a downward trajectory or direction, you're lowering it as a verb.
That's right. 낮추다라는 뜻으로 lower를 쓸 수 있습니다. What about projection?
Yeah, and a projection is an estimate of something happening in the future based on the information or current trends that you have. A projector, like a projector screen, is something that you sort of magnify onto a wall or onto a screen. And that's what basically you're doing in this case, for this coming year.
That's right. projection이라는 게 여기서는 전망치라는 뜻이 있어서요. October projection이라는 것은 지난 10월에 전망했던 수치라는 뜻이 되겠죠. 이 projector, 그럼 beam projector 이런 것들은 우리가 이제 벽에다가 아니면 스크린에다가 이미지를 착 이렇게 투여하는 거잖아요. 보여주게 하는 거. 그러니까 그런 게 사실 다 같은 의미가 있어요. 영어에서는 앞을 내다보다, 벽에다가 뭐 비춰보다 이런 게 다 이제 project라고 표현을 합니다.
Or in contrast, as a noun, you would call it a project. If you have a project to work on, which is a slightly different meaning here, but in terms of pronunciation, the stress is on the first syllable in that case.
That's a good point. 네. project 할 때는 강세가 앞에 있지만 projection이라고 할 때는 강세가 두 번째 음절에 있습니다. I'm going to read the headline one more time. The International Monetary Fund has lowered its 2025 growth forecast for South Korea's economy to 2%, a 0.2 percentage point drop from its October projection, while raising its global growth outlook. Now let's move on to the next headline.
Canada is preparing a three-stage plan of retaliatory tariffs and other trade restrictions against the U.S., set to take effect if President-elect Donald Trump follows through on his threat to impose a blanket 25% tariff on all Canadian goods.
캐나다가 미국을 대상으로 3단계로 이뤄진 보복 관세 및 기타 무역 제한 조치를 계획 중인 가운데 도널드 트럼프 미국 대통령 당선인이 모든 캐나다 제품에 25% 관세를 부과한다는 기존 입장을 실행에 옮길 경우 캐나다도 해당 조치를 미국에 적용한다는 입장입니다.
Yeah, so we have a trade war sort of brewing across the border in North America here.
Brewing is correct.
Yeah, so Canada is not sitting idle. The president-elect, of course, has threatened to impose this sort of 25% tariff on all Canadian goods. He's been talking tough on the campaign trail and ever since his election here. So Canada is not sitting by, and they say they will retaliate, right? They have these other plans in store if the U.S. does, in fact, impose these tariffs. So if you want to look at it, it's mostly going to affect consumer goods that come into Canada from the U.S., things like food and beverage, everything from bathtubs to toilets, dishwashers. So just anything that would affect consumers in this case. But basically what will happen, though, is if this does carry out, everything just becomes more expensive for the consumer.
그렇습니다. 자, 미국에서 현지 시간 1월 20일에 트럼프 대통령 당선인이 대통령으로 공식 취임을 하게 됩니다. 우리 시간으로는 아직 조금 남았는데요. 그렇게 되면은 이제 새로운 행정부가 시작이 되는 거죠. 그리고 트럼프 당선인이 그동안 계속 약속했던 거 바로 여러 가지 관세를 부과하겠다. 영어로는 imposing tariffs라고 하는데 그거를 실행에 옮길 경우 특히 지금은 캐나다 얘기니까 캐나다에 25% 관세를 부과할 경우 if the US follows through with its 25% tariff imposing policy that Trump has promised 그러면 이제 캐나다도 똑같이 하겠다. 이런 얘기입니다.
And not just any tariffs. We call it here retaliatory. Right?
Yes.
If you retaliate to something, you're getting revenge or you're repaying sort of the other person.
그러네요. 보복이라는 단어가 들어가 있어요. retaliatory. 자, follow through라는 표현은 무슨 뜻일까요?
Yeah, so Trump has been talking about this for a very long time. So if you follow through on it, you actually carry that action out to completion or to conclusion.
실행에 옮기는 겁니다. 무언가를 완수할 때 follow through with something이라고 하죠.
If you play sports, it's always important to follow through on your swing. Whether you're playing tennis or when you're playing golf, baseball, you have to follow through.
그러네요. 스포츠에서도 이 표현을 쓸 수가 있겠군요. So you don't just
You don't stop at the moment of impact. You have to follow through with your swing.
뭔가 이렇게 이어서 계속 한다라는
to completion.
뜻이군요. 그래요. 뭐 근데 정치인 같은 경우에는 특히 이제 뭐 대선 후보들은 여러 가지 공약들을 내걸기 때문에 그거를 실행에 옮기는 게 굉장히 중요하죠.
Right. And it's important as a parent to follow through on your threats to your children, right? So if you say if you don't do your homework, you will not have dinner. If you don't follow through on that, your kids are going to not trust your word anymore, right? It's a promise.
Exactly. 자, 다음으로 tariff라는 단어 우리가 알아요. 관세. 근데 그 앞에 이불이 붙었습니다. 이불에 대한 관세인가요?
Yeah, no. Well,
no,
not
아니죠?
literally. No, because if something's a blanket something, that means it's just it applies to all sort of instances or situations.
Blanket tariff.
A blanket tariff. It means on everything.
네. 자, blanket라는 형용사가 들어가게 되면은요, 모든 걸 덮는다라는 뜻이 있습니다. 비유적인 표현이에요. 그래서 snow has blanketed the city 이렇게 표현을 하면은 눈이 도시 전체를 다 뒤덮었다 이런 의미가 되겠고 여기서는 blanket tariff라고 했는데요. 모든 것을 커버하는 포괄적인 관세라는 뜻이겠죠.
Yeah, you can use this in other instances. You can have a blanket rule.
Yeah.
A rule that applies to everybody, no exceptions. The teacher made a blanket statement. It was very direct, blunt, and it applies to everybody. Or blanket insurance coverage is another example.
모든 것을 커버하는 그런 보험, blanket insurance coverage. 그래요. B-L-A-N-K-E-T, blanket. 자, 다시 한번 읽어보겠습니다. Canada is preparing a three-stage plan of retaliatory tariffs and other trade restrictions against the U.S., set to take effect if President-elect Donald Trump follows through on his threat to impose a blanket 25% tariff on all Canadian goods.
India has become the fourth country in the world to successfully perform space docking by joining two small craft in space.
인도가 인공위성 2대를 우주 공간에서 연결시키는 실험을 해내면서 우주 도킹 임무에 성공한 세계 네 번째 국가가 됐습니다. And let's talk about the most populous nation in the world now joining the space race.
Yeah, are they the most populous now? They overtook China. I thought
Yeah,
I
I
knew
think
it was
so.
close, but
Yeah, I believe
yeah,
so.
they're and we'll get to population
Yes,
in just
we
a
will.
moment as a
Yeah,
little
yeah.
foreshadowing. But in any case, here India becoming the fourth country in the world to perform this space feat. Back on December 30th, they launched two spacecraft on this one rocket, one named Chaser and one named Target, and it was originally scheduled to perform this docking back in early January. There were some delays here, but like I said, they become the fourth country in the world to do this. These spacecraft are they're small spacecraft. They're about 220 kilograms each, and they've been orbiting Earth before they accomplish this. And this is very important because it allows India to maybe in the future allow for satellite servicing, maybe even putting a person on the moon or building their own space station because this is an important technology where if you have to send equipment and other payload to space, you need you need to be able to deliver these things sort of as a delivery service, and they're able to attach these two spacecraft together.
Exactly. And this was successfully performed.
Yep. So if you perform something, you're again carrying out some sort of action, and if
Yeah.
you do that to success, you got the outcome that you had desired.
그러니까 이 perform이라는 게 우리가 연주를 하거나 무대에 올라서 공연을 할 때도 쓰지만 무언가를 수행할 때도 쓰는 동사입니다. Perform, in this case, this space docking. 그렇죠. 그래서 굉장히 다양하게 쓰이는 단어이기 때문에 유용하게 여기저기 이렇게 쓰실 수 있을 것 같고요. 특히 뉴스에서 이런 식으로 뭐 스페이스 소식에서도 나올 수 있겠지만 그 외에도 뭐 정치 얘기하면서도 they were able to perform a certain action or I don't know, let's say, you know, a certain party was able to perform what else can you use with perform? I'm trying to think of something you perform.
In business, you can perform a presentation. I suppose.
Okay.
Yeah.
There you go. 그렇죠. 개인적으로도 뭐 이제 나라에 대한 얘기를 할 때도 수행하다, 실행에 옮기다. 뭐
The
아니면
economy performed well last year, you could say.
그러네요.
Yeah.
네. 감사합니다. 이런 식으로 the economy performed well. 경제가 이런 식으로 이제 뭐 성장을 했다. 아니면은 뭐 성장을 하지 않았다. 얘기할 때도 그냥 바로 주어를 the economy 하고 동사를 perform으로 놓을 수 있습니다.
Yeah, it doesn't always have to be some sort of performance in front of an audience, right? Yeah.
Exactly. 자, 다음으로 craft라는 표현을 볼게요. Two small craft.
Yeah, so you might be wondering, craft. A craft is a vessel of some sort.
Yeah.
It could be a boat, it could be an aircraft, it could be a spacecraft. But what's interesting is that the plural form of craft, and we were talking about this earlier,
Yes, right.
is simply craft. There's no S. It is used, I think, but I think the more accepted or common usage is craft with no S as the plural.
그러네요. 자, 단수일 때도 craft고 복수도 craft로 쓰는 게 일반적입니다.
Yeah.
물론 S 붙여도 되지만 틀리지는 않지만 일반적으로는 똑같이 단수나 복수나 craft를 써요. 그래서 이제 우주선, spacecraft 이걸 줄여가지고 그냥 craft라고 표현을 하고 있죠. 그 외에도 뭐 aircraft, 항공기도 있을 수 있고 hovercraft도 있죠.
Hovercraft, that's another one.
네, hovercraft는 이제 물 위를 떠다니는 뭐라 그래야 돼요? 배인데 배가 아닌 배죠.
Yeah.
뭐라고 표현했지?
It literally hovers over the.
물
It
위에서
floats.
부양하는
Yes.
예, 그런 선
Right.
이런 것들 이제 hovercraft라고 하고요. 예, 그런 게 다 이제 무슨 craft, 그러니까
Yeah.
기기인데 우리가 타는 그런 기기들입니다.
Yeah. The plural is craft.
Craft.
Like sheep or fish. The plural
아
is the same.
그러네요. 예, a lot of sheep, not sheeps.
You don't say sheeps. No.
No. And fish as well.
Yes.
자, 다시 한번 제가 읽어보겠습니다. India has become the fourth country in the world to successfully perform space docking by joining two small craft in space. Now let's move on to the next headline.
Thailand's Prime Minister Paetongtarn Shinawatra has said that she was nearly tricked by a scam caller posing as a well-known world leader.
패통탄 치나와 태국 총리가 자신이 잘 알려진 주변국 지도자를 사칭한 보이스피싱에 거의 속을 뻔했다는 사실을 공개하며 주의를 당부했습니다.
Yeah. So more evidence that everyone is a potential victim
Yeah.
to these sort of scams. So what happened was the Prime Minister of Thailand received a message, and then on the very next day, she missed a call from the very same number. And that's when she received this voicemail that said, asking for, let's see here, they wanted Thailand as the only ASEAN country which has not yet made a donation. Basically, asking to send money.
Money.
And that's when the red flags went up. And she said she was sure that this was a scam because these call center scams are a very common problem in Thailand, as with other countries where these robocalls are made to people.
굉장히 대담하다는 생각이 들어요. The scammers, I mean, they're getting more and more obnoxious almost because
Brazen,
yeah,
yes.
brazen, exactly, because they're pretending to be heads of state.
Yeah. So my guess is this was a targeted sort of scam or call because you wouldn't use this message. Thailand must donate to as a country. It seems like it was targeted to this world leader here. But in any case, it's a reminder to be
Yeah.
careful.
그러니까요. 한 나라의 지도자한테도 이런 보이스 피싱이 가고 있다는 게 참 놀랍습니다. 자, be tricked 볼까요?
Yeah, so if you're tricked into doing something, you're deceived, often as a sort of plan to deceive somebody.
Right. 자, trick라는 게 속이다라는 뜻이 있어요. be tricked는 속임을 당하는 거죠. 속는 거죠. 그래서 마술 있잖아요. 우리 이제 뭐 마술 magician
Yep.
그래서 magic trick를 한다고 합니다.
Yep.
그러니까 사실은 눈 속임이잖아요. 이게 손에서 샥 하면서 뭐 카드가 나타나고 그다음에 이제 주름 하면서 뭐 토끼가 나타나고 이런 것들이 물론 마법이기도 하지만
Yep.
사실은 속이는 거죠.
You'd be a great magician, Sue. Shuck and droop. Yeah.
terrible.
Yeah.
그래가지고 이런 것들을 이제 magic trick라고
Yeah.
하는데 그렇다고 이제 마법 무슨 속임수 이렇게 번역을 하진 않지만 그 단어가 여기 들어간다는 겁니다. 속인다는 의미가 들어있기 때문에. So to be tricked is to be fooled or to be
Yes.
scammed. be scammed가 이제 구체적으로는 사기를 당하다라는
Yes.
뜻이고요. To pose as someone.
Yeah, so if you pose as someone, you're pretending to be someone or something, and usually in trying to deceive that person or to trick them.
누구인 척하다. Pose as 누구.
Right. We hear 사칭, right? These
그렇죠.
these scams that we get over your phone.
Yep. Pretend to be someone, impersonate someone, to pose as someone. 자, 그러면 다시 한번 제가 읽어보겠습니다. Thailand's Prime Minister Paetongtarn Shinawatra has said that she was nearly tricked by a scam caller posing as a well-known world leader. All right, well, let's move on to the final headline.
China's population fell for a third consecutive year in 2024, reinforcing concerns that the world's second largest economy will struggle as the number of workers and consumers decline.
지난해 중국 인구가 3년 연속 감소함에 따라 향후 노동자 및 소비자 수가 줄면서 세계 2위의 경제 대국이 어려움을 겪게 될 것이라는 우려를 증폭시켰습니다.
Yeah. So, and I do stand corrected from what you said earlier. India is, in fact, the most populous nation in the world. That happened
Yep.
in 2023 when they overtook China. But it seems to be that India is going to continue to be that because the National Bureau of Statistics in China reporting that 1.408 billion people live in China.
Yep.
That's about a 1.4 million sort of drop there. So the number of births is outpaced by the number of deaths at the moment because China's birth rate has been consistently falling now for decades as a result of their one-child policy, which they've since now abolished. But it's a very similar story to what we hear in Korea. It's things like the high cost of childcare, education, also uncertainties in the job market for youngsters and a slowing economy have discouraged many Chinese from getting married and starting a family.
That's right. So concerns have been reinforced about this country, and the decline in population could lead to, as you said, decline in the economy.
Yeah. So normally when you reinforce something, you're strengthening it by adding more support. In this case, because this is a trend or a story that we've heard for a very long time, basically this new information, these statistics that we have, reinforce meaning that it's telling the same story again with more support or evidence.
무언가를 강화한다라는 뜻이 있습니다. To reinforce something. 근데 재차 보여준다라는 의미가 원래 들어있거든요. 그거 다시 보여줌으로 인해서 강화하는 거죠. 여기서는 우려가 다시 한번 나타나고 있다. 이렇게도 해석을 할 수 있을 것 같은데 그만큼 그 중국의 인구가 이렇게 줄어들면 중국의 경제 규모도 줄어드는 거 아니냐 이런 우려가 이전에도 있었고 지금도 계속 있는 겁니다.
Yeah, it's interesting because you see the RE in front of there when you reinforce, but there's no such word as enforce. I-N-F-O-R-C-E. It would be E-N-F-O-R-C-E,
that's a
right?
good point,
Where you strengthen or give force to something.
That's right. What about struggle?
Yeah, if something is a struggle, that means it's very difficult. When you try to do something with a great strenuous effort, something's a struggle.
So it could be a noun or it could be a verb. You
Yep.
can struggle.
Yeah, think of a prey in the grasp of a snake, trying to struggle to get out.
그러네요. 뱀이 예를 들면 뭐가 있을까요? 토끼나 아니면
Any
조금
sort of
더
vermin.
큰, 네, 조금 더 큰 동물도 잡아먹기도 하죠. 그거를 이제 잡아먹으려고 하고 있을 때 거기 붙잡힌 동물, 그걸 P-R-E-Y, prey라고 합니다. 먹잇감. 먹잇감이 지금 이렇게 어떻게 해서든지 빠져나가려고 몸부림치는 거 있죠? 그게 struggling입니다. 그런 식으로 굉장히 노력은 하지만 쉽지 않아요. 그런 상황일 때 the prey is struggling 동사고 그런 행동을 명사로 a struggle이라고 표현할 수 있습니다.
Right, getting your kids ready for school every morning is a constant struggle.
It is a struggle.
Right?
네, 그래서 어려움이라고 우리가 해석을 많이 하는데 이게 그냥 단순한 어려움이라기보다는 굉장히 노력을 하고 몸부림을 치고 있는데도 안 될 때 그때 쓰는 표현이라고 볼 수 있을 것 같고요. 여기서는 China's economy will struggle. 앞으로도 계속 중국의 경제가 좀 어려움을 겪을 것이다. 왜냐하면 인구가 계속 줄어들 것으로 보이거든요.
Yeah, and in this, if you want to look at the bigger picture of this sort of social trend, it affects, like you said, the Chinese economy, which is such a big portion of the global economy. We always refer to China as the world's factory.
Yeah.
They manufacture so many things, but when China's economy being so big, when it slows down, it affects other countries, especially economies like Korea's.
맞습니다. 자, 다시 한번 제가 읽어볼게요. China's population fell for a third consecutive year in 2024, reinforcing concerns that the world's second largest economy will struggle as the number of workers and consumers declines.
The government has issued a warning about a potential rise in text message scams ahead of the Lunar New Year holiday and has implemented a 24-hour monitoring system to address the issue.
자, 설 연휴 기간을 앞두고 문자 사기, 즉 스미싱이 증가할 것으로 보이는 가운데 정부가 이에 대해 각별한 주의를 당부하며 문자 사기 대응을 위한 24시간 탐지 체계를 운영하기로 했습니다.
It feels like I only ever used to have to worry about email scams, but these days these text message scams are becoming more and more frequent, and so the Ministry of Science and ICT, along with other authorities, have issued this warning. They're saying beware of these smishing scams that are impersonating public institutions, and they're saying check fines or penalties for your vehicles, especially because of holiday traffic, because it could be a scam. The other thing to watch out for is when you get a holiday gift notification, or at least you think you do, or it could be a malicious app or a fake money transfer request. They're also warning that there are things like offers of tax refunds that are scams because it's coming to the year-end settlement period. And also watch out for QR codes because they can also be deceptive. It can lead you, again, to a malicious app which could cause you all sorts of problems.
확인되지 않은 내용, 금전적인 내용이 들어있는 문자가 오게 되면은요, 절대로 링크를 클릭하지 마시고 확인 후 그러니까 뭐 여러 가지로 확인할 수 있겠죠. 뭐
네.
은행이라든지 아니면은 누가 보냈다라고 의심이 됐을 때 뭐 여러 가지로 먼저 확인 후 조치를 취하셔야겠습니다. 벌써 이렇게 또 명절을 앞두고 사기를 치는 사람들이 참 많이 있네요.
Yeah, I would also say check with your parents or your grandparents and make sure they're up to date and aware of what these scams might be because it's often the elderly and the vulnerable who fall prey to this kind of thing. They
Yeah.
don't have the info, they're not aware, and so we need to let them know.
그렇습니다. 자, 사기. 영어로 scam이라고 할 수 있죠.
Doesn't sound very nice, does it? Scam.
Scam.
It's not a nice word. If you scam someone or if you perpetrate a scam, it's when you're tricking someone, you're deceiving them, you're fooling them, you're cheating them
Right.
out of something. Either you're getting their money or you're getting their car or whatever it is, you're getting something from them using deception.
네, 그래서 사기를 치는 사람을 scammer라고
Yeah.
보통 말을 하고요.
And the old term would be a con artist.
That's right. You can be conned or scammed. Basically, it means you've been tricked.
Yeah.
You've been fooled. 자, 그다음에 implement something.
A much nicer word. If we use it as a noun, it means a tool. And if we use it as a verb, it means that we're doing something. We're making it happen. We're making it work. We're starting it. We often use implement with a word like plan or program
Yeah.
or implement security precautions. So you'll often see it used in official notices. The government is implementing this or implementing that.
네, implement가 어떤 것을 도입할 때 많이 쓰기도 하는데요. 여기서는 이제 시행하다 이렇게 쓸 수 있겠고 implementing a 24-hour monitoring system이라고 했습니다. 24시간 동안 모니터링하는 그런 체계를 운영하기로 했다. 이렇게 해석할 수 있겠네요. IMPLEMENT. 일상 대화에서는 많이 안 쓰지만 좀 공식적인 단어이기 때문에 뉴스에서는 많이 들을 수 있어요.
You might hear it in your office if the boss talks about implementing a new scheme, for example. So you might hear it in business talk, but not in casual talk.
That's right. 자, 다시 읽어보겠습니다. The government has issued a warning about a potential rise in text message scams ahead of the Lunar New Year holiday and has implemented a 24-hour monitoring system to address the issue. Let's move on to the next headline.
US President Donald Trump began his second term on Monday with an inauguration held inside the US Capitol due to severe cold, marking the first indoor presidential inaugural ceremony in 40 years.
미국 현지 시각 월요일 도널드 트럼프 미국 대통령이 혹독한 추위를 이유로 의사당 내에서 취임식을 열면서 두 번째 임기를 시작했습니다. 미국 대통령 취임식이 실내에서 치러진 것은 40년 만의 일입니다.
Yes, it's historic for a couple of reasons. One, it's been 40 years since it's been held indoors. And two, I believe he's only the second president to serve non-consecutive terms, to have a break between his two terms. So yes, it took place at the Capitol's Rotunda under the fabulous 88-meter-high dome. And the last time it happened was in 1985. It was with President Ronald Reagan when he was being sworn in for his second term. There it was falling to minus 14 degrees Celsius. Far too cold, perhaps, to have thousands upon thousands of people standing outside. It did mean, however, that the number of people who could watch the ceremony in person was reduced. There were more than 220,000 ticketed guests. However, not all of them were able to get into the building. It's because it's being held in January. It's always the case. It's
Yeah.
always going to be cold in Washington, D.C. It just so happens that 40 years ago and this year, it's been far too cold for the president to be sworn in outside.
To be sworn in, to take office, these are terms you will have heard in regards to the inauguration. He is now the 45th and the 47th president of the United States.
Does that mean we take the square root?
What?
How could you be two different presidents at once?
Well,
Yes.
he was the 45th.
It's really
and now
interesting
he is the 47th.
because this is only the second time we've had to sort of deal with somebody being two different numbered presidents.
Exactly. 자, 그럼 표현 보도록 하겠습니다. This is his second term because
Yeah.
it's the second time he's taking office.
Yeah, and we talk about a term of office, means the period a government official like a president or a prime minister or a politician will serve. Often it's 4 or 5 years, I think, in many countries. Well, so we use term as a period of time. For example, in the UK, when I was growing up, we didn't say semester. We said term.
Yeah.
We had the summer term, the spring term, and the winter term. So whenever you hear first term, second term, it's most likely to do with a period of time that somebody is serving in office.
That's right. term, term이라는 것이요. 어떤 특정한 기간을 말하는데 여기서는 대통령의 임기를 말하고요. 영국에서는 학생의 학기를 말하기도 하고요. 이게 뭐 때에 따라서는 뭐 여러 가지 기간을 특정할 수 있습니다. 미국에서는 학기를 semester로 많이 쓰지만 semester나 term이나 같은 말이 되겠고 그러나 이제 대통령의 임기를 semester라고 하진 않아요.
No,
그럴 때는,
no, because term can be used for any kind of period of time, if we want to talk about officially. Semester is only for education.
자, 그래서 second term이라는 표현이 여기 나오고 있습니다. 지난번 이제 45대 대통령이었고 이번에는 47대 미국 대통령으로서 두 번째 임기를 시작을 했죠. 이 취임식은 inauguration이라고 하고요.
네.
그 형용사 형태가 inaugural입니다.
You'll hear a lot of this term in the news every 4 years whenever a president gets into power because it is the official beginning of something. It can be for an activity, it can be for an event of some kind, but we use it pretty much always when it comes to a new head of state. Somebody coming into power, they have their inauguration, they make their inaugural speech or their inaugural command or whatever it may be.
그렇죠. inaugural something 그러면은 이런 취임식의 뭐뭐뭐 취임 행사의 뭐뭐 아니면은 첫 무엇 이런 의미가 될 수 있겠죠. 그래서 여기서는 inaugural ceremony라고 했습니다. 그게 바로 취임식이 되겠고요. 그 다음에는 이제 inaugural speech도 했거든요. 그러면은 취임 연설을 했다. So Trump has made his inaugural speech, and this was a part of the inaugural ceremony, which was held indoors for the first time in 4 decades. 다시 읽어보겠습니다. US President Donald Trump began his second term on Monday with an inauguration held inside the US Capitol due to severe cold, marking the first indoor presidential inaugural ceremony in 40 years.
Israel and Hamas have started releasing prisoners and hostages, halting a 15-month war that devastated the Gaza Strip and heightened tensions across the Middle East.
이스라엘과 하마스가 포로와 인질을 석방하기 시작하면서 가자 지구를 파괴하고 중동 지역의 긴장을 고조시켰던 15개월간의 전쟁이 드디어 휴전에 돌입했습니다.
I think the whole world has been waiting with bated breath
Yep.
for a ceasefire. You know, it's gone on so long and there have been so many deaths and so much worry about the hostages, but now we have progress.
Yep.
So on Sunday, the first official day of the ceasefire, we saw 3 Israeli hostages being freed. And I don't know if you saw the very emotional videos, not just of these women meeting their families again, but also of Israelis cheering and weeping outside the defense headquarters. And then we had 69 women and 21 teenage boys, Palestinians from the West Bank and Jerusalem being freed from Israeli prisons. So again, I think we have rejoicing on both sides that we see people being able to meet their families again. We'll have to see how long this ceasefire holds,
Yeah.
of course, because it's always a very delicate business. It could collapse at any minute. However, 1, the fighting should stop. 2, aid is going to be sent into Gaza. And then we'll see 33 of the nearly 100 remaining hostages going free over this 6-week period. And there will be something like 2,000 Palestinian prisoners also released. The issue is we don't know how many hostages are still alive, but at least at this point, we're seeing some progress in this terrible crisis in the Middle East.
This all started in October 2023.
October 7th.
October 7th, 2023 to be precise. And then about a month later, in November that same year, there was a brief ceasefire. However, that only lasted for about a week.
Yes.
And then it went back to war. So this time around, we're expecting and we're hoping that this will last a long time. They say
6 weeks at least.
Yeah, that's right. 자, 이번에 진짜 15개월 동안 계속됐던 전쟁이 정말 휴전에 본격적으로 돌입했다라고들 보고 있습니다. 15개월 전, 그러니까 2023년 10월 7일 날 시작됐던 이 전쟁이 한 달 후인 2023년 11월에 잠시 휴전에 접어들긴 했었지만 그때는 일주일 정도밖에 가지 않았고요. 그 다음에 또 다시 전쟁이 이어졌습니다. 그러나 이번에는 이제 트럼프 대통령이 내가 취임하기 전까지 인질들을 석방하기 시작하지 않으면은 뭐라 그랬죠? 지옥문이 열릴 것이다. 이렇게 엄포를 내리는 바람에 사실 굉장히 빠른 속도로 진행이 된 것으로 분석이 되고 있고요. 그리고 이제 앞으로 한 6주 동안 인질과 포로들이 계속해서 석방이 될 것으로 보여집니다. 지금도 벌써 수십 명이 일단은 석방이 됐습니다. Alright, so let's have a look at this expression here, to halt something.
Yeah, means to stop it, to make it stop. If you've ever watched police dramas, you might have heard American police officers shout, halt in the name of the law, meaning stop in the name of the law.
멈추는 거죠.
Yeah, so we can deliberately halt something,
Yep.
or something can be halted by accident. For example, if there's an incident on the highway, traffic is halted and it won't move until the debris is cleared.
그래요. HALT, halt, 멈추다 이런 뜻이 있는데요. This latest ceasefire is halting the war.
Yes.
15개월 동안 지속됐던 전쟁을 멈추게 하는 그런 휴전입니다. Well, the war devastated the region.
Yeah, and this term devastated, we can use both physically or emotionally. In this case, we're using physically. If an area is devastated, it means it's destroyed or severely damaged.
Yeah.
We can talk about Gaza because of all the bombing. So now Palestinians may be trying to go home to rubble. Or we can talk about California where we had those awful wildfires and talk about the region being devastated by fires. If you've had a breakup, a bad breakup, you might be emotionally devastated, really, really upset about what has happened. So it's a very strong word to use, and we don't use it lightly. It's a very serious, very strong word.
devastate, D-E-V-A-S-T-A-T-E, 황폐화시킨다. 물리적으로든 심리적으로든 이렇게 완전히 파괴하는 거를 devastate 한다라고 말합니다. 다시 읽어볼게요. Israel and Hamas have started releasing prisoners and hostages, halting a 15-month war that devastated the Gaza Strip and heightened tensions across the Middle East. Let's move on to the next headline.
Babies born in the new year and the following 14 years will form Generation Beta, a cohort set to navigate unimagined digital landscapes and witness the dawn of the next century.
올해부터 15년 동안 태어나는 출생아들이 일명 베타 세대로 불릴 예정인 가운데 이들 베타 세대는 이전에 보지 못했던 수준의 디지털 환경을 살아가며 다음 세기의 시작까지 보게 될 것으로 전망됩니다. 그러니까 새로운 세대가 올해 태어나는 아기들부터 시작이 되는군요.
Another generation to complain about.
Gen
Yes.
Beta.
Yeah, or Gen B, as I'm sure they will be known.
Yeah.
This is really interesting now that we've gone into the Greek alphabet. So we already have Gen Alpha. Those were born between 2010 and 2024. We now have Gen Beta or Gen Beta, Gen B, as I'm going to call them from now on. And by 2035, they're going to make up at least 16% of the global population. The good news for them is there's a good chance they're going to live into the 22nd century. I don't think we will, Sue, but they, if they were born in 2025, will be 76 when 2101 comes around. And the predictions we're seeing are that they're going to be living a life of AI and automation, that digital and physical life is going to be merged in everything, school to work to healthcare to entertainment. I don't know how much of our lives are going to be merged with that. We shall have to wait and see, but certainly it's not all going to be ice cream and gravy. There's going to be problems as well, and that is specifically climate change and global population shifts, as well as rapid urbanization. Those are the three big issues that Gen B are going to have to deal with.
Now, there's not like a set, a definitive definition of from when to where is each of the generations, because I found that different sites and different newspapers and, different organizations, they have slightly different definitions for the years that classify you into which generation you belong to.
It's very true. I think there's really only one date we can be sure of, and that's 1946 for the baby boomers.
Yes, that
which
one.
is the end of the
Yep.
Second World War,
That's
when
right.
suddenly we had a huge burst of population. So the baby boomers we know. The others,
Yeah.
I'm never sure. Am I an elder millennial or am I a young Gen X?
How do you identify yourself?
I'm neither.
you
I
don't feel
fall
like
in
you're
between
either.
the gaps.
Okay, yeah.
Because whenever I read an article, it feels like it's not talking about me. And to be honest, it doesn't really matter. I think sometimes if we put ourselves into these brackets, we can separate ourselves from the younger or older people around us. The point is we're all living together and we all need to get on. And I really don't like it when you see the boomers attacking Gen X or the Gen X attacking the millennials or the millennials attacking Gen Z. We just need to live our lives. So good luck, Gen B. Hope you have a good 2100.
네. 그 몇 년생부터 몇 년생까지가 각각의 이 제너레이션인지 정의가 조금씩 다르더라고요.
네.
지금 저희가 가지고 있는 자료랑 또 제가 포브스지에 있는 자료도 같이 보고 있는데 연도가 조금 달라요. 근데 어쨌든 이제 보면은 예전에 The Silent Generation이 있었고요. 대체적으로 이제 1920년대 후반부터 1945년까지
네.
그 다음엔 이제 전쟁 직후에 베이비 부머스 46년부터 64년 정도까지인 것 같고요. 그 외에는 이제 Generation X, Millennials, Generation Y라고도 불렀고요. 그다음에 Generation Z, 우리가 Gen Z 얘기 많이 하잖아요.
네.
Gen Z. 그다음에 이제는 알파 세대, 베타 세대 이렇게 쭉 가고 있는 것 같습니다. 그래서 그 베타 세대가 올해 태어나는 아기부터래요. 이 베타 세대는 가장 큰 특징은 AI와 함께하는 태어날 때부터 그냥 AI 네이티브다 이런 말 하더라고요. 우리가 영어 네이티브 스피커도 있지만 이 제너레이션 베타는 AI 네이티브 세대입니다.
For better or worse, we'll see how it works out.
그래요. 자, cohort, what's that?
Well, when we talk about Gen B, we talk about that cohort, which means it's a group of people that are similar or have a shared characteristic. So, for example, if I talk about Sue's cohort in school, it will be everybody who is in the same year as her or in the same class as her. So it's how we separate groups of people. It's often done by age, for example. We talk about a cohort in education, but it could be because you're all train spotters or you all like BTS or whatever it might be. We can put you in a cohort.
네. 또래 집단이 될 수도 있고 아니면은 공통 관심사가 있는 집단이 될 수 있습니다. 이런 그룹을 cohort, C-O-H-O-R-T라고 하고요.
Can I just say I love our cohort of listeners?
그러네요. 우리 청취자분들도 하나의 cohort를 이룬다라고 볼 수 있겠네요.
And our cohort of Bandy app users.
Yes, that's right. And dawn of the next century?
Dawn, we can use it literally to mean the start of a new day, but we can also use it figuratively to mean the beginning of something. So the dawn of a new century is when a new century starts.
Dawn of the next century라는 것은 새로운 세기의 새벽이니까 새로운 세기의 시작이 되겠죠. 지금 2025년인데 2100년부터 시작되는 이 새로운 세기를 올해부터 태어나는 이 베타 세대부터는 다 보겠죠.
Yeah.
네, 이렇게. 예.
It'll be a dawn of a new year next Wednesday.
Yes, what?
A new
oh,
lunar
right.
year.
Yes, I forgot.
So, come on now. Solal is around the
I need to
corner.
wake up. All right. Okay. 다시 제가 읽어보겠습니다. Babies born in the new year and the following 14 years will form Generation Beta, a cohort set to navigate unimagined digital landscapes and witness the dawn of the next century. Now let's move on to the next headline.
Dozens of humanoid robots are set to participate in a half marathon in China this April as Beijing intensifies efforts to advance artificial intelligence and robotics, aiming to gain a competitive edge in the industry.
올해 4월에 중국 베이징에서 열리는 하프 마라톤 대회에 휴머노이드 로봇 다수가 참가할 예정입니다. 이번 행사는 중국이 인공지능과 로봇 공학 업계에서 경쟁 우위를 확보하고자 해당 노력을 강화하는 과정에서 나온 것입니다.
Can I just point out, this is not just a robot marathon. This is for humans as well. There's going to be something like 12,000 humans during the half marathon, and there are going to be robots from more than 20 companies also participating. Everyone from around the world can join. If you've got a humanoid And this is the important thing. Your robot must look like a human,
Yeah.
and they must have a structure that is capable of performing motion actions. So that means you have to be able to walk on two legs or run on two legs. You can't be on wheels. So I'm very sorry to all the robots with wheels out there. You are disqualified.
네. 중국에서 이렇게 그 사람 모습을 닮은 로봇 휴머노이드와 함께 마라톤을 한 적이 있긴 한 것 같은데 이번은 정말 많이 참가하나 봐요.
So we'll see how it comes and how many people will participate. But certainly, you can have robots that are remote controlled. You can have robots that run by themselves or walk by themselves. You can replace the batteries during the race. Very
Okay.
important for robots. Just
Yeah.
like humans have a drink or have a little bit to eat. I don't know whether this is going to be ridiculous or incredible. Certainly, I think there will be some robots who may fall at the first hurdle or the first step, but there may be others who complete a half marathon, and that would be astonishing to see.
네, 4월 달에 베이징 다신구 경제기술개발구에서 이 마라톤이 개최된다고 합니다. 사람은 한 12,000명 정도가 참가할 것 같고요. 휴머노이드는 한 20개 이상이 참가할 것 같습니다. What does intensify mean?
Oh, if something intensifies, it means it gets stronger. It increases in whatever we're talking about. For example, we talk about the amount of study a student does before Sunung. It intensifies as summer changes to autumn because they're getting ready for the exam and they have to study harder and harder and harder.
네, 강화하는 것을 intensify라고 하죠. And competitive edge?
Yeah, this word edge, yes, we use it for an object to describe the corner of it, the side of it. But when we use it in business, when we use it in competition, if you have an edge, you have an advantage
Yeah.
over the other competitors. So a competitive edge means you've got an advantage in beating the other person or the other team or the other company.
경쟁 우위라는 뜻입니다. edge, EDGE가 여기서는 모서리가 아니고요. 어떤 강점, 이점, advantage라는 뜻이 있어서 competitive edge는 경쟁 우위가 되겠습니다. Here's the headline again. Dozens of humanoid robots are set to participate in a half marathon in China this April as Beijing intensifies efforts to advance artificial intelligence and robotics, aiming to gain a competitive edge in the industry. All right, that's it for the headlines with Paul.
More than 34 million people are expected to travel both domestically and internationally during the 10-day period surrounding this year's Lunar New Year holiday, according to the Korea Transport Institute.
올해 설 명절을 중심으로 한 열흘간의 연휴 기간 동안 3,300만 명 이상의 국민이 국내 및 해외로 이동할 것으로 예상된다고 한국교통연구원이 밝혔습니다. So officially, the holidays start, I suppose, on Saturday and they end next Thursday. But if you add the Friday before
Of
the
course,
weekend, and then if people take next Friday off,
Yep.
then it's going to be 10 days altogether,
Yeah,
right?
it's an extended holiday,
Yeah.
right? So that's why a lot of people will be on the roads or will be in the air, traveling either here at home domestically, or they will be traveling abroad to other countries, taking a little break, going on vacation. So the Korea Transport Institute said that it estimates 34.84 million people to be on the move during this extended Lunar New Year holiday period from Friday until, I believe, February 2nd, the Sunday after the official Lunar New Year holiday period ends. And that marks a 29% increase from the figure that was seen over last year's Lunar New Year when the holiday lasted for 5 days. So they're saying that the peak travel day is forecast to be next Tuesday with 6.01 million travelers expected. Highway traffic on that day is projected to reach 6.39 million vehicles. However, the daily average highway traffic is expected to decrease by 7.7% to 5.02 million vehicles as the extended holiday period will be helping to spread out the travel demand. The Ministry of Land, Infrastructure and Transport will designate a 10-day special transportation period from Friday to February 2nd to facilitate safe and convenient travel for the public during the holiday season.
네, 다음 주 월요일도 이제 마감시 공휴일이다 보니까 이번 주말 25일부터 해서 30일까지가 어떻게 보면은 공식 설 연휴라고 볼 수도 있을 것 같은데요.
Yep.
그렇지만 그 앞뒤로 2월 24일 금요일부터 2월 2일 일요일까지를 국토교통부에서 특별교통대책 기간으로 지정했습니다. 이 열흘간의 기간 동안 이렇게 3,484만 명이 이동할 것으로 예상한다고 합니다. People will be traveling both domestically and internationally.
Right, right. So when we say domestically, it means inside a particular country. In this case, it'll be inside Korea. So you can also use this to say that it's in a way that relates to activities inside a particular country.
Domestic travel은 국내 여행이 되겠고요. International travel은 해외 여행이죠. 공항에 가도 이렇게 domestic flights
Yeah.
그럼 국내선, international flights 그러면 국제선
Yeah.
이런 단어들 보셨을 것 같아요. 여기서도 people are expected to travel both domestically and internationally. 국내외 여행 이번 설 연휴 기간 동안에 한 20% 정도의 국민들이 할 것 같습니다. 자, 그 다음 표현은요. surrounding입니다.
Surrounding. It means it's all around a particular place or thing. So
Or time.
Or time, yeah. So when we talk about like Seoul and the metropolitan area, we say it's the surrounding metropolitan area, and we usually refer to Incheon and other, cities that are nearby, very close to the capital city, Seoul.
Sure. 자, 둘러싸고 있다라는 뜻이 있기 때문에 물리적으로 둘러싸여 있는 게 될 수도 있고요. 시간적으로 앞뒤까지 다 포함했다라는 의미가 될 수 있습니다. 그러니까 이 열흘간의 특별 교통 대책 기간, 이게 어떻게 보면은 연휴를 둘러싼 기간이라고 볼 수 있겠죠.
Yeah.
네, 그래서 실제로 이제 국토교통부에서 오는 24일부터 다음 달 2일까지를 이렇게 특별 교통대책 기간으로 연휴를 둘러싼 surrounding the Lunar New Year 그 기간을 이렇게 지정했습니다. 다시 한번 제가 읽어보겠습니다. More than 34 million people are expected to travel both domestically and internationally during the 10-day period surrounding this year's Lunar New Year holiday, according to the Korea Transport Institute. Now let's move on to the next headline.
The Culture Ministry has unveiled its biennial list of Korea's 100 must-visit tourist spots for 2025 and 2026, jointly compiled with the Korea Tourism Organization.
문화체육관광부는 한국관광공사와 함께 2년에 한 번씩 우리나라 대표 관광 명소를 선정해 홍보하는 한국관광 100선의 2025-2026년 리스트를 공개했습니다. Now, this, of course, comes ahead of the extended Lunar New Year holiday, so people can go and check these out
Definitely.
this week and next week, but also for the next 2 years.
Of course. So this is the 7th edition of the biennial 100 must-visit tourist spots of Korea list. And of course, it was jointly compiled with the Korea Tourism Organization. They say 14 spots made the list for the 7th consecutive time. And it includes the 5 royal palaces in Seoul, the Jeonju Hanok Village, as well as the Seokguram Grotto and Bulguksa Temple in Gyeongju, North Gyeongsang Province. A total of 27 venues were newly added to this must-visit list, and they include, of course, the very popular and very hip Seongsu-dong in Seoul, which houses trendy pop-up stores. There's the Sokcho Central Market in Gangwon Province, and Incheon's Gyeodong Island, which was used as a filming location for the Netflix series Squid Game.
Yep.
And these must-visit spots were selected through big data analysis and 3 rounds of assessments by experts in the tourism sector.
그러니까 이게 단순히 관광지만 홍보하는 게 아니라 체험도 추천을 하는 거거든요. 그래서 지금 얘기하신 게 이번에 새로 목록에 추가된 것들 중에 한강공원에서 라면 먹기.
Yeah.
이 한강 라면 기계들이 외국인들이 볼 땐 굉장히 신기하거든요.
It's a must do, I think, if you visit Korea. I've never done this before.
이거 안 해보셨어요? 데려가야겠다 내가. 우리 가자.
I've never done this before because I
재밌어요.
feel like it's such a I can do this anytime type of thing,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
So I feel like, oh, because if you're here on vacation, if you're here just sightseeing and traveling in Korea for the first time,
Yeah.
you're like, I don't have much time.
I think that's true because
Yeah.
you live in Seoul. I have now left Seoul, and that's why I do more of the touristy things.
And I live very close to the Han River
Yeah,
as
that's
well.
what I'm
Yeah,
saying.
so I'm like, I could do this anytime. But I think that's why I keep pushing it back.
Yeah. True. 그래요. 뭐 그 외에도 아까 얘기한 뭐 오징어 게임 그 촬영지도 여기 백선에 포함이 되어 있고요. 이번에 그 설 연휴를 맞아서 뭐 여러 가지 행사도 한다고 하고.
Yeah, of course.
네, 뭐 찾아보시면 될 것 같아요. 한국 관광 백선 해가지고 2025년, 2026년에 가볼 만한 곳, 이 문체부에서 이렇게 주관해가지고 리스트를 만들었습니다. 자, 이번 이 표현 볼게요. 2년에 한 번씩 이 리스트가 발표가 되는데 It's a biennial list.
Yeah, biennial. The spelling is biennial, biennial, and it means taking place every other year or happening once every 2 years.
2년에 한 번씩 열리는 걸 biennial이라고 하는군요. 네, 그러면은 jointly compiled with라는 표현은 또 무슨 말일까요?
Yeah, so when you compile something, it means to produce something, especially a list or report or something like a book, by assembling information collected from other sources. And when you are jointly compiling, it means two different or many different organizations or different parties are getting together to put this book, in this case, this list together.
여기서는 이제 문체부와 한국관광공사가 협업을 해서 만드는 리스트예요. 그래서 jointly 함께 compiled 작성된 리스트다. With the Korea Tourism Organization 이렇게 표현을 하면 되겠습니다. One other thing I want to mention about the word biennial is there's a similar word, biannual, but that means it happens twice a year.
Yeah, it's different. Different.
자, biennial의 스펠링은 어떻게 되나요?
biennial, biennial.
그렇죠. 이게 바로 2년에 한 번씩이란 뜻이고요. biannual이라고 하면은 biannual 이거는 1년에 2번이란 뜻입니다.
Yeah.
의미가 좀 달라요. by는 둘이라는 의미가 똑같지만 biennial이냐, biannual이냐에 따라서 의미가 달라집니다.
Yep.
다시 한번 제가 읽어볼게요. The Culture Ministry has unveiled its biennial list of Korea's 100 must-visit tourist spots for 2025 and 2026, jointly compiled with the Korea Tourism Organization.
U.S. President Donald Trump has signed an executive order aimed at withdrawing the U.S., the world's second biggest emitter of planet-heating pollution, from the Paris Climate Agreement for a second time.
도널드 트럼프 미국 대통령이 파리 기후 변화 협정을 탈퇴한다는 행정명령에 지난 임기에 이어 두 번째로 서명했습니다. 미국은 지구 온난화를 유발하는 오염물질을 세계에서 두 번째로 많이 배출하는 국가입니다. So now the US has officially kickstarted its second term of the Trump administration.
Yep.
And back in the first term, when Trump was president in 2017, he signed this order also to leave the Paris Agreement. So, and then as soon as Biden became the president, he made sure that the US rejoined.
Yeah.
So what's going on? So tell us more.
So on his first day back as president, he signed this executive order to withdraw the U.S. from the Paris Climate Agreement, which he calls is unfair and one-sided. And he also signed a letter to the United Nations giving it notice that the U.S. was exiting, which starts the formal process of withdrawal from the world's main effort to mitigate the worst impacts of the climate crisis. And as we mentioned, the U.S. is the world's second biggest emitter of planet-heating pollution. And they say that with this motion, it will take about a year for this withdrawal to be formalized. So it looks like, Trump was just waiting for that moment to that first day he's back in office, this was the number one thing he did. So when it is enacted, the U.S. will join Iran, Libya, and Yemen as the only countries outside the global agreement, which Joe Biden had rejoined back in 2021, as you mentioned, after Trump confirmed that he would exit in his first term in 2017. Trump, who also signed 8 other executive orders on stage, he told his supporters that the U.S. will not sabotage its own industries while China pollutes with impunity. So he's kind of setting this, stage like the U.S. against China type of thing, because China, I believe, is the number one polluter. And, this confirmation of the move was also in a White House document that was published earlier on Monday, local time, outlining America's first priorities in a package of measures under the headline, Make America Affordable and Energy Dominant Again.
네, 우리 파리 기후 변화 협정이라고 해서 영어로는 Paris Climate Agreement인데 그냥 줄여서 Paris Agreement라고도 합니다. 이게 2015년에 체결이 됐던 협정이고 국제적으로 나라들이 다 같이 손을 모아서 우리 온실가스 감축을 위해 노력하자 하는
Yeah.
협정이었죠.
Yeah.
그래서 2016년에 오바마 대통령이 이제 공식적으로 미국도 조인하겠다 이렇게 밝혔고요. 그러고 나서 1년 후에 트럼프 대통령이 취임하면서 결국은 2020년에 공식적으로 미국이 Paris Agreement에서 탈퇴를 했습니다. 그리고 또 1년 후에 바이든 대통령이 취임을 하면서 재가입을 했고요. 그런데 이번에 2025년 취임하자마자 트럼프 대통령은 다시 탈퇴한다. 이렇게 밝혔습니다.
Make up your mind. Make up your mind.
미국에게 불리하다 이런 입장인 것 같아요. 네, 그렇지만 이제 계속 이렇게 행정부가 바뀔 때마다
Yeah.
가입했다가 탈퇴했다,
Yeah.
가입했 이런 모습이라서 이 international agreement인데.
Yeah, it kind of shows, because I believe with the whole climate change issue, the world needs to be together on
Yeah,
this front, because
it's
it
very-
not only affects one country, it affects all of us.
Exactly. And it's hard to move ahead when, a key member
Yeah, a
joins
superpower.
and leaves.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
But nonetheless, that is what's happening in the US.
Yep.
Trump has signed an executive order.
Yeah, so an executive order is a rule or order that's issued by the president to an executive branch of the government and having the force of law.
행정명령을 executive order라고 합니다. 거기에 서명을 한 거고요. To withdraw from the Paris Agreement.
Yeah, so if you withdraw, it means you remove or take away something from a particular place or position.
탈퇴하다라는 뜻이 있어요. withdraw from이라고 하면은 아니면 뭔가 기권하다, 떠나다 이런 뜻도 다 될 수 있습니다.
Yeah.
다시 한번 제가 읽어볼게요. US President Donald Trump has signed an executive order aimed at withdrawing the US, the world's second biggest emitter of planet heating pollution, from the Paris Climate Agreement for a second time. Now let's move on to the next headline.
Billionaires' wealth grew 3 times faster in 2024 than the year before, according to Oxfam International, while the number of people in poverty has barely budged since 1990.
국제구호개발기구 옥스팜의 보고서에 따르면 2024년 전 세계 억만장자들의 자산이 전년보다 3배 빠른 속도로 늘어난 반면 빈곤층의 숫자는 1990년 이후로 큰 변화가 없는 것으로 나타났습니다. This was announced during the Davos Forum, correct?
Yeah. And it is a bit disheartening to hear news like this, because what we want to hear is that the number of people in poverty have decreased since 1990. Billionaires' wealth, we would I guess for them it's good that their wealth has been growing steadily or growing very fast. But what's happening is they're saying that billionaires' wealth grew by 2 trillion won in 2024 alone, and that's equivalent to roughly 5.7 billion a day.
Yeah.
And it's at a rate that's 3 times faster than the year before. An average of nearly 4 new billionaires were minted every week. So
Yeah.
we're seeing the rich growing richer faster,
Yep.
while the poor are just staying poor, and it's harder for them to to get out of poverty. So in 2024, the number of billionaires rose to 2,767, and that's up from 2,565 in 2023, and their combined wealth surged from $13 trillion to $15 trillion in just 12 months. And this is the second largest annual increase in billionaire wealth since records began. And the wealth of the world's 10 richest men grew on average by almost $100 million a day. Even if they lost 99% of their wealth overnight, they're still going to be billionaires.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
세계 경제 포럼의 연례회인 그 다보스 포럼 개막에 맞춰서 이런 보고서가 나왔어요. 국제 구호 개발 기구인 옥스팜에서 발표를 했고요. 이 보고서 내용에 보면은 작년 2024년도에 이 억만장자들이 부를 늘린 것뿐만 아니라 새로 억만장자 리스트에 올라간 사람도 200명 이상이더라고요.
Yeah.
And to put this into perspective, 이거를 대략적으로 이제 365일로 계산을 하게 되면은 한 4일에 한 번, 아니다. 매주 4명씩 새로운 억만장자가 탄생하는 것이다. 이런 정도의 계산이 나온다고 합니다.
Yeah.
네. 근데 이제 반면에 빈곤층도 역시 굉장히 많습니다. 1990년 이후 큰 변화가 없다라는 게 상당히 우려스럽죠. 좀 줄었어야 됐는데.
Yeah.
그래서 전 세계 인구의 44%나 되는 36억 명 정도가요. 하루에 우리 돈으로 10,000원 이하로 생활하고 있다고 합니다.
Yeah. And what was really concerning about this report was that it kind of shed light on how, we like to think that a lot of these billionaires, these millionaires, they're self-earned or they make this money through hard work. But they say that it's not really the case. They're saying that about 60% of billionaire wealth now comes from inheritance.
I would imagine so.
Yeah.
물려받는 거를 inheritance라고 합니다. So inherited wealth takes up more than half
Yeah.
of the reasons or I suppose how these new billionaires became billionaires.
Yep.
All right, let's have a look at the key expressions. Barely.
Barely. So we like to add just to this. So we say just barely. But barely, it means only just or almost not. So it has that meaning of being scarcely or no more than something.
그렇죠. 겨우라는 의미, 거의 뭐뭐가 아니다 이런 의미도 있을 수 있어요. 그냥 뒤에 뭐가 나오냐에 따라 좀 다르긴 한데 예를 들자면은 이제 도착하기로 한 시간보다 한 1분 전에 도착을 했다. 뭐 30초 전에
Yeah,
도착했다.
yeah.
I barely arrived. 도착하긴 했는데 겨우 도착했다. 이렇게 쓸 수도 있고요. 아니면 여기서 말하는 것처럼 1990년 이후 거의 변화가 없었다. 그럴 때도 barely budged or barely moved 할 수 있습니다.
Yeah.
budge라는 표현도 한번 볼까요?
Yeah, budge. Spelling is B-U-D-G-E-D, budged, and it means make or cause to make the slightest movement.
budge라는 거는 이제 약간 움직이는 겁니다. 그러니까 이렇게 말할 수 있어요. Hey, can you budge over?
yeah, budge over.
조금 움직일 수 있어요? 이렇게 말할 수 있고 아니면은 뭐 사람 너무 많아가지고 그 버스 안에서 전혀 사람들이 움직일 수 없었어요.
Yeah.
You just couldn't budge
Yeah, yeah.
inside the crammed bus.
Yeah.
이렇게 얘기할 수도
Or
있습니다.
when you're trying to like move heavy furniture, if it's too heavy or
it
if it's
wouldn't
too big,
budge.
it wouldn't budge. Yeah.
그러네요. 가구가 너무 커가지고 도저히 이게 움직여지지가 않아요. 꼼짝도 안 해요. 이럴 때 the furniture wouldn't budge. B-U-D-G-E. 여기서도 1990년 이후 빈곤층의 숫자는 거의 변동이 없다. The number of people in poverty has barely budged since 1990. 다시 읽어보겠습니다. Billionaires' wealth grew 3 times faster in 2024 than the year before, according to Oxfam International, while the number of people in poverty has barely budged since 1990. 자, 다음 헤드라인입니다.
China has reported the discovery of an extremely large rare earth deposit in the southwestern province of Yunnan, primarily containing medium and heavy rare earths that are crucial for manufacturing high-tech products such as electric vehicles.
중국 남서부 윈난성에서 거대한 희토류 매장지를 발견했다고 발표했습니다. 이 매장지는 전기차 등 첨단 제품 제조에 필수적인 중중 희토류가 주로 포함된 것으로 알려져 있습니다. 여기서 말하는 이제 중중 한자 앞에는 이제 medium이라는 뜻이 있고 뒤에는 이제 weight 무게라는 뜻이 있습니다. 희토류 그게 이제 rare earth minerals가 되겠죠. Tell us more.
Yeah, so China reported this discovery of an extremely large rare earth deposit in the southwestern province, and it comes as China is seeking to strengthen its control over global supply chains for these critical minerals. And they say that the recent discovery, it primarily contains medium and heavy rare earths, which are crucial inputs in the manufacturing of high-tech products like electric vehicles, wind turbines, and cutting-edge defense systems. It has potential resources of 1.15 million tons, including more than 470,000 tons of key rare earth elements such as, I cannot pronounce these words, it's presidium and neodymium.
Okay.
And this is according to the Ministry of Natural Resources China Geological Survey. And they're saying that the latest discovery is one of the outcomes of an initiative that was launched back in January of 2023 to locate resources of strategic importance, including lithium, helium, and rare earths. China is actually the world's top producer of rare earth elements, which includes 17 metal oxides with 44 million tons of deposits, and this is according to the U.S. Geological Survey.
네. 희토류 매장지가 발견이 됐다고 했는데 얼마나 거대하냐면은요. 한 115만 톤 정도에 달한다고 합니다. Alright, so primarily it contains medium and heavy rare earths.
Yeah, primarily we use this kind of together with mostly. So it means for the most part or mainly.
그렇죠. Primary라는 거는 주로 뭐뭐하다. 그다음에 crucial for something.
Crucial for something, it means it's decisive or critical or of great importance.
crucial이 굉장히 중요하다, 중대하다라는 뜻이라서 무엇에 있어서 아주 중대한 crucial for something. 자, 다시 읽어보겠습니다. China has reported the discovery of an extremely large rare earth deposit in the southwestern province of Yunnan, primarily containing medium and heavy rare earths that are crucial for manufacturing high-tech products such as electric vehicles. All right, well, that's it for the headlines with Karen.
The number of registered vehicles in the nation surpassed 26 million last year, with eco-friendly cars, including electric, hydrogen, and hybrid models, accounting for over 10% of the total for the first time.
지난해 국내에 등록된 자동차 수가 2,600만 대를 넘어선 가운데 전기, 수소, 하이브리드와 같은 친환경차 비율이 처음으로 10%대에 진입한 것으로 나타났습니다. Right, so let's talk about the number of cars last year.
Cars. The Transport Ministry here reported on Wednesday that the total number of registered vehicles in Korea came to almost 26.3 million as of the end of last December, and that's up 1.3% from a year earlier.
네, 그러니까 작년에 자동차 누적 등록 대수예요. 그게 2,600만 대를 기록했다는 거고요. 2,600 좀 넘었습니다. 그게 또 그 전해에 비해서는 1% 정도. 그러니까 한 34만 대, 35만 대 이상 증가한 수치입니다. 또 친환경차가 많이 늘었고요.
Yes, so that's one of the main takeaways from this story is that the number of eco-friendly vehicles, let's define eco-friendly vehicles here as a category. It includes electric, hydrogen, and hybrid models, and that category jumped to more than 10% of all vehicle ownership here in Korea.
그래요. 이번에 그 친환경 차들이 많이 늘었는데 누적 등록 대수 같은 경우에는 274만 대 정도인데요. 그중에 하이브리드가 한 48만 대 정도였다고 합니다. 굉장히 큰 비율을 차지하고 있는 거죠.
So even if we hadn't seen this study today and weren't talking about it today, I think, when you're out driving around or walking around, you can definitely see a lot more electric cars.
Sure.
That's for sure on the streets. And the thing about them is you can't hear them. So you have to be careful when you're, crossing the street. Sometimes you see one before you hear one. But definitely in my apartment complex, I see a lot more of these eco-friendly cars.
Exactly. A lot of hybrid cars, as we saw in the headline there as well. All right, well, let's have a look at the first expression. A vehicle.
A vehicle. Let's do the spelling first. It's Vehicle. A little bit hard to pronounce, maybe.
Yeah.
It's a noun, and I should point out the H in there can or cannot be pronounced. Both are acceptable pronunciations, so vehicle or vehicle with a silent H. And this is a mode of transport, usually, especially on land. So usually cars and trucks.
Yeah, exactly. 자, 그 교통수단을 vehicle이라고 합니다. 여기에는 일반 승용차도 들어있을 수 있지만 그 외에도 승합차, 트럭 지금 말씀하신 것도 있을 수 있고요. 경차도 포함되고 다양합니다. 다 이제 교통수단을 vehicle이라고 표현을 하죠. 자, 그 다음에 eco-friendly.
Eco-friendly. This is a word we hear a lot also here in Korea. We have eco, or you can also pronounce it echo. Both pronunciations are acceptable. And then friendly, and it's hyphenated. And when something is eco-friendly, it's kind or favorable to the environment. It's good for the earth. It's not harmful to our earth.
That's right. 친환경적이다. eco-friendly. 그래서 ECO가 붙으면은 환경 친화적이라는 걸 우리가 알 수 있는데요. 발음은 두 가지가 가능합니다. 에코도 되고 이코도 되고요. 아까 제가 그 하이브리드 차량 대수 얘기하면서 48만 대 정도 증가했다라고 말씀을 드렸는지 모르겠어요. 48만 대 증가해서 전체 누적 대수가 200만 대가 넘어섰습니다. 전체 친환경 자동차 270만 대 중에서 하이브리드가 200만 대니까 엄청나게 큰 비율을 차지하고 있는
That's
거죠.
a big percentage.
Yes, indeed. 자, 그러면 다시 한번 제가 읽어볼게요. The number of registered vehicles in the nation surpassed 26 million last year, with eco-friendly cars, including electric, hydrogen, and hybrid models, accounting for over 10% of the total for the first time. Let's move on to the next headline.
A fire has blazed through a 12-story hotel at a ski resort in Turkey, killing at least 76 people and injuring 51 others, according to local authorities, turning an idyllic vacation spot into a smoke-filled nightmare.
튀르키예의 한 스키 리조트에서 12층짜리 호텔 건물에 화재가 발생해 최소 76명의 사망자와 51명의 부상자가 나왔습니다. Tell us more.
Yes, well, tragedy struck Turkey on Tuesday when a blaze broke out at a popular ski resort about 180 miles east of Istanbul at 3:30 a.m. local time. So in the dead of night, when most people presumably were sleeping, the number here we have is 76 dead and about 51 injured. The fire, if you see the images of it, took place at a 12-story hotel, an otherwise beautiful and quite grand-looking ski resort hotel. About 230 guests were believed to be staying, and many were not able to escape.
그렇죠. 화재가 발생했던 시각이 새벽 3시 반 정도였기 때문에 많은 투숙객들이 호텔 안에 있었습니다. 그래서 좀 인명피해가 컸던 것 같아요. 또 참고로 이 튀르키예의 공식 명칭이 이렇게 튀르키예로 변한 거는 우리가 몇 년 전에 살펴봐서 잘 아실 겁니다. 근데 이제 일반적으로는 여전히 영어로는 터키라고도 해요.
Yes.
왜냐하면 공식 국가 명칭과 일반적으로 쓰는 이름이나 또 뉴스에서 번갈아 가면서 쓰는 다양한 나라 이름들은 또 따로 있거든요. 뭐 한국도 마찬가지죠.
Right.
한국의 공식 명칭은 Republic of Korea, ROK이지만 우리 South Korea, Korea 이렇게 다 얘기를 하는 것처럼 Turkey, Turkey 다 가능합니다. 자, 원래는 이곳이 idyllic vacation spot였대요.
Idyllic. It's a pretty word to describe something that's very peaceful, very beautiful. It's spelled Idyllic, and it's an adjective that describes almost like a paradise. So something very beautiful, but not just beautiful, but somehow very serene, a little bit quiet, very calm, almost like a, like a postcard beautiful scene.
엽서에 나올 것 같은 그런 평화로운 분위기에 우리 이제 목가적이다라고 하기도 하는데 일상적으로 쓰는 단어는 또 아니다 보니까 굉장히 이상적인 그림 속에 나올 것 같은 평화로운 곳 이렇게 생각하시면 되겠습니다.
Right. So if you walk into the EBS studios in the morning, it's very quiet when we arrive for work, but you wouldn't describe an office setting as idyllic. Usually it kind of conjures up images of maybe a beautiful beach or something out in nature.
그렇죠. 해변이 될 수도 있고 아니면은 멋있는 정원이 있을 수도 있고 이런 평화로운 분위기의 집이나 아니면은 이 경우는 호텔이지만 그런 것들을 idyllic 하다고 하고요. 스펠링은 IDYLLIC 이렇게 씁니다. What's a vacation spot?
A vacation spot is a place you go on holiday. So a vacation is time we take for ourselves to go and get some rest and relaxation. And a spot is a locale, a location, a destination. So a vacation spot is a place you might go with your friends or family to go and enjoy yourself.
여기서 spot는 장소라는 뜻이고요. vacation은 잘 아시죠? 그러니까 휴양지가 되겠네요. 다시 제가 읽어볼게요. A fire has blazed through a 12-story hotel at a ski resort in Turkey, killing at least 76 people and injuring 51 others, according to local authorities, turning an idyllic vacation spot into a smoke-filled nightmare.
Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has said in an address at the World Economic Forum that if a ceasefire deal were enacted with Russia, at least 200,000 European peacekeepers would need to be on the ground in Ukraine to defend it against a possible attack by Moscow.
블라디미르 젤렌스키 우크라이나 대통령은 세계 경제 포럼에서 행한 연설을 통해 러시아와의 평화 협정이 이루어질 경우 우크라이나에 최소 20만 명의 평화 유지군을 배치해 향후 러시아의 공격 가능성에 대비해야 할 것이라고 주장했습니다. Tell us more.
Well, Volodymyr Zelensky is at the World Economic Forum in Davos, Switzerland, and he gave an address in which he reminded the world, basically, there is no ocean separating European countries from Russia. They only have a land border, obviously, no ocean between them. And so Europe must take care of itself. So he went on to say if Ukraine were to enact a ceasefire deal with Russia, the country would need at least 200,000 peacekeepers on the ground.
Exactly. 네, World Economic Forum에서 나왔던 얘기가 되겠고요. 이렇게 20만 명 이상의 평화 유지군이 필요할 것이다라고 얘기를 하고 있는데 it just goes to show that this war is far from over.
It's ongoing.
Let's have a look at this expression here, to enact.
To enact, E-N-A-C-T, is a verb that means to make a bill or other proposal officially become law. So it establishes something and makes it legal.
deal이 enacted 된다면 이라는 표현이 나옵니다. E-N-A-C-T, enact라는 것은요, 무언가 행해지다라는 뜻이 있죠. 그래서 만약에 정전협정이 이루어진다라고 하면은 이제 유럽도 나서서 함께 이 20만 명의 평화유지군을 만들자. 그런 제안이 되겠고요. They need these people on the ground.
On the ground, on the ground. The words seem easy enough. Together, it's an expression that means, grounded in real world practical experience. It's actual. It's not just in your thoughts or it's not just in theory, but it's actual. Here, when we're talking about the war in Ukraine, it is a physical explanation of what's going on. We need troops or peacekeepers, soldiers on the ground, on the physical ground. But in common conversation, we can also talk about, just it means in the situation.
Yeah, on the ground는 그 현장에서라는 의미가 있습니다. 자, 그러면 다시 한번 제가 읽어보겠습니다. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has said in an address to the World Economic Forum that if a ceasefire deal were enacted with Russia, at least 200,000 European peacekeepers would need to be on the ground in Ukraine to defend it against a possible attack by Moscow. Let's move on to the next headline.
New research from the McKinsey Global Institute warns that major economies are heading toward a population collapse by 2100 due to falling fertility rates, with birth rates far below the levels needed to sustain current populations in many countries worldwide.
출산율 감소로 인해 전 세계 주요 경제국들이 2100년쯤이면 인구 절벽에 직면하게 될 것이라는 맥켄지 글로벌 연구소의 보고서가 나왔습니다. 이 보고서에 따르면 세계 많은 나라가 현 수준의 인구를 유지하는 데 필요한 출산율을 밑돌고 있는 것으로 나타났습니다. So we're talking about a population collapse.
A population collapse. And I feel like we have a fertility or falling fertility rate story at least every few weeks because
Yeah.
this is a major issue, certainly here in Asia. But around the world, this Global Institute is saying that in major economies, by 2100, which is right around the corner, we will have a population collapse. We will not have enough people to sustain ourselves. And 2/3 of the world's population live in countries where the fertility rate is below the replacement rate needed to keep its population alive.
그래요. 지금 필요한 지금 현재의 국가 인구를 유지하기 위해서 필요한 그 인구 수보다 아래 그 밑도는 그런 인구를 가진 그런 이제 출산율을 가진 나라가요. 전체의 3분의 2 정도나 된다고 합니다. 굉장히 많은 거고 그렇게 되다 보면 2100년쯤에는 아마 인구가 지금의 한 20%에서 50% 정도까지도 줄 수도 있는 그런 나라들도 있다. 이런 얘기를 하고 있는데 Of course, that would affect the economy as well. Let's have a look at the expression head towards something.
To head toward something is to go or move in the direction of something. You can use this expression either physically or figuratively. So if something is heading toward something, it's going that way. It's going in that direction.
어디를 향해 가다, head toward 어디. 자, 그다음에 sustain.
Sustain, S-U-S-T-A-I-N, is a verb that means to keep up or to keep going, to uphold or maintain something, and again, to support something. This is also physically or emotionally.
네, 유지하다를 sustain 한다고 합니다. S-U-S-T-A-I-N. 다시 읽어볼게요. New research from the McKinsey Global Institute warns that major economies are heading toward a population collapse by 2100 due to falling fertility rates, with birth rates far below the levels needed to sustain current populations in many countries worldwide. Now let's move on to the final headline.
Bob Dylan's draft lyrics for his 1965 song Mr. Tambourine Man, complete with handwritten margin notes, have sold at auction in the U.S. for more than $500,000.
미국 싱어송라이터 법 딜런의 자필 메모까지 여백에 담긴 그의 1965년 노래 미스터 탬버린 맨의 가사 초안이 경매에서 $50만 이상, 우리 돈으로 약 7억 4천만 원의 금액에 낙찰됐습니다. Tell us more.
Well, Bob Dylan, of course, he's a legend. So anything that he has touched is likely to go for a lot of money. In this case, draft lyrics for the song Mr. Tambourine Man, which is from 1965, sold for $508,000. That's about 720 million Korean won in the U.S. If you look at the lyrics, they're on just kind of yellowish paper.
Yeah.
And they don't look too exciting, certainly not worth $500,000. But what's special about them is that they are an early draft. And also, they have handwritten notes in the margin.
맞아요. 노란색 종이 2장입니다. 종이도 옆에 다 이렇게 약간 찢어진 종이들이긴 해요. 오래돼서 가운데 구멍이 좀 뚫려 있기도 하고 제가 지금 보고 있긴 한데 자필로 그 가사를 고친 흔적도 보이고 가사 자체는 그 타이프라이터 폰트 있잖아요. 그 타자기 폰트. 그 폰트로 가사가 적혀 있는데 중간중간 이렇게 그 줄 그어서 이제 고치고 한 흔적들이 다 남아 있습니다. 이게 또 파이널이 아니라 이게 초안이었어요. 그러니까 나중에 또 다시 고치고 해서 결국은 노래가 만들어진 거겠죠. 근데 굉장히 소장 가치가 있는 소중한 그런 manuscript가 되겠습니다.
I think it's more valuable because it's messy and it
Yeah.
has holes in it and it has,
Yeah.
Bob Dylan's actual handwriting on it in the margins. So I think that makes it more valuable at auction.
그러게 말입니다. Bob Dylan is currently 83 years old, I think.
He's up there.
Yeah. 그래요. 자, 그러면 표현 보겠습니다. Draft lyrics.
You pronounce it draft lyrics. I would say draft lyrics. D-R-A-F-T. A draft is a version or a copy or a rendition of something before it is finalized. So if you say draft lyrics, lyrics are the words to a song. So if you say draft lyrics, it's an earlier version of the song.
그래요. 이 draft라는 단어가 우리 원고 쓸 때도 초안이라는 의미로 쓰죠. draft가 여러 번 있을 수 있어요. 그러다가 마지막 draft를 영어로는 final draft라고 얘기를 합니다.
Right.
Handwritten.
Handwritten. It's one word. It's connected. H-A-N-D-W-R-T-T. Excuse me, W-R-I-T-T-E-N, handwritten. And this means it describes something that's written by pen or pencil. It is not typed or printed.
네.
I think it's a sort of a dying thing these days for something to be handwritten.
Exactly. 그 손으로 쓰는 글씨를 handwriting이라고 하거든요. 그렇게 손으로 쓰여진 이거는 handwritten이라고 합니다.
I know that when we were in school, we would get graded on what was called penmanship, our handwriting.
Yeah.
Back in elementary school, we would get a grade for our penmanship, our handwriting. I don't know if that's the case these days with
don't know.
with kids in school.
Right. Probably not, I would imagine.
We're not, using our pencils and pens as much these days. But yes.
Exactly. 자, 다시 한번 제가 읽어보겠습니다. Bob Dylan's draft lyrics for his 1965 song Mr. Tambourine Man, complete with handwritten margin notes, have sold at auction in the US for more than $500,000. All right, well, that's it for the headlines with Janet.